Hi, everybody. I'm Lene Jones-Jules of Jules Realty.
And I'm Michelle Jules of Jules Realty.
Your real estate boutique. We're located in the heart of Newark, New Jersey, the Renaissance Towers building downtown. Today, we are so happy to have with us Danny, last name?
Danny Ezediegwu.
Okay. I just say Danny. Danny. I don't want to say it again.
Danny E. Sometimes.
Danny E.
It's very important.
Yeah.
Yes. Danny E. of D-Dan Associates Home and Building Inspection Services. He is our go-to home inspector. Hey, Danny. Glad to have you.
Thank you, my dear. My name is Danny Ezediegwu, Senior. I've worked in engineering, construction, and home inspection for more than 30 years. I've done hundreds and thousands of inspections over the years. I can't keep count. Maybe not thousands per se, but hundreds of them, over the years. The state of New Jersey requires anybody working in a home inspection business to be licensed. The process of licensure includes examination, apprenticeship, and insurance, and continuing education classes to maintain the license. Home inspectors are required to inspect the house from the roof to the foundation, plumbing, electrical, drainage, fences, retaining wall, hazardous materials that may impact on occupancy of the property and use. Home inspectors are now required to advise prospective buyers whether it's if it's worth the cost of what they are paying for the home inspection. All we are required to do is to document the condition of the existing property at the time of the inspection. If there is areas we could not assess, to so indicate in our report that these areas were inaccessible at the time of the inspection. And that's based on the state of New Jersey guidelines. We sometimes go beyond what the state requires if we deem it safe to do so. We are not allowed to move furniture or move anything that will damage. We are only allowed to do observable, visible areas. We are not allowed to go into unsafe, locations. We are not allowed to do air quality or environmental work inspection. We are not allowed to work on properties we inspected. So the state of New Jersey have a website where they delineated what is required and what's not required of a home inspector to do during the course of the inspection. The home inspector is supposed to issue a pre-inspection agreement that shows the fee, the time, the date, and all the information that's relevant to the inspection, prior to the inspection. Sometimes it's difficult to get the pre-inspection agreement to the purchaser because of time constraints. Or if the purchaser doesn't have an email address to send the pre-inspection agreement to prior to the inspection. In such cases, we try to accommodate because the state of New Jersey requires it, our insurance carriers requires us to do so. The best time to do an inspection is after the attorney review is concluded. The state of New Jersey have a restriction of issuing an inspection report to any other person other than the buyer, except if the buyer authorizes in writing for the report to be sent to the agent or some other third party. The agent will say, hey, I'm representing the buyer. I need the report to be issued to me to be able to send it to the lawyers to proceed with the transaction. In that case, we'll have to have authorization from the buyer to send the report to a third party. All prospective buyers are advised to have a home inspection conducted after the attorney review prior to closing. In some instances, some prospective buyers may decline to have an inspection done because they are buying the house as is, or because they will be doing extensive renovation on the house. In that case, the attorney will have the prospective buyer sign a waiver that they are declining to have a home inspection done. That absolves, real estate agent and the attorney of future claims from the prospective purchaser. Many years ago, licensure wasn't required. Every handyman, engineer, architect could run around doing inspection. But the state of New Jersey, they required home inspectors to be licensed and insured. Some inspectors, like myself, that were in business prior to the licensure requirement, were grandfathered, but we were still required to take the exam. We were still required to submit 200 reports of previous inspection that was conducted. And from there, the state of New Jersey selected randomly what reports they want sent to them for review prior to issuance of a license to work as a home inspector in New Jersey. Now, for somebody to get into the home inspection business, they will either have a formal training in architecture, engineering, construction, or go to a home inspector school, take courses in home inspection business, take an exam, work with a licensed home inspector as a mentor for 200 inspections prior to getting a license. And for somebody to work unpaid or even partially paid doing 200 inspections gets a little bit tough for some folks. So when you are licensed as a home inspector, you are required to take mandatory courses in ethics, law, and report writing, in addition to some other requirements, continuing education credits. Currently, I think it's 400 CEU units that's required for you to continue as a licensure doing business in the state of New Jersey. I have not had complaints because I tried to go beyond what's required to do. We are not expected, based on the state of New Jersey requirement, to report on mold, asbestos, environmental contamination. But if I notice asbestos on pipes in the property, I'll mention it in my report. I'm not required to do it, knowing that if I don't, regardless, the buyer might, turn around and sue me for not disclosing it. Mm-hmm. If I notice mold, I'm not required by the state of New Jersey to indicate that there was mold. By mentioning most of these items, it absolves me or keeps me away from trouble. It takes nothing away from me to go beyond what's required to serve my clients.
We do have a few questions that some of the listeners would like to ask you.
Okay, go ahead.
Some of the question is, what is it and why is it important?
It is very important for the buyer to know what they are getting into. If the house has structural issues, mechanical issues, roof issues, even if a guy is buying a car, you are allowed to test drive it around the parking lot or block to see if it runs. The same process, the same thinking, if somebody is buying a house, they should be able to take a second look, have somebody that has knowledge about homes to take a second look at what they're doing and check what is visible and observable to inspect and advise them or recommend repairs that should be done to protect their investment.
I've heard this often where we have people say, well, my husband is a handyman and I have a contractor. I want them to come and check out the house. And so I always say, that's good, but it's really good to have a licensed person come out.
What happened, I think the advice you give them is the best. If a prospective buyer, whether he's a handyman or his husband or wife is a handyman, whatever observations they made in the house is not acceptable based on the state of New Jersey and the attorney's requirement. 90% or 99% of attorneys in New Jersey will not accept any written home inspection report that was not prepared by a licensed home inspector. A handyman's observation doesn't count. It doesn't have anything in terms of negotiations or legally. It has no bearing. If somebody that's not licensed conducts an inspection, it's useless. Every purchaser of a home should have a home inspected by a licensed home inspector with a written report as required by the state of New Jersey and present it to the seller for either negotiation, credit, or repairs. Because if there's any repair, no matter how insignificant, you may look at it. When you hire a contractor to do it, the small cost add up to quite a substantial amount of money.
You are so thorough. I mean, that's why I like to refer you, because I feel like you're very personable and you really help people see things that you don't quite, you may have observed it, but you don't look deep enough to see certain issues. And that's what I really appreciate about working with you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your calmness sometimes when I spend time, running around in the houses. Yeah. So many people have told me in the past, Danny, you are killing my deal. I said, I don't care if I'm killing you. That's what I said. They will get upset. Oh, you put too much stuff in the report. I don't care because you are not paying me. This buyer is paying me. I'm morally and legally obligated to disclose a report on everything. Let the buyer make a decision. What is important for them and what is not important. If they don't consider certain items important, they could look over it. If it's something that will keep them awake at night, they could discuss it with their lawyer and say, hey, could the seller take care of this for me or give me credit for that?
Well, Danny, they may not appreciate you, but we appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Because we know better, and I think we will work well together.
Yes.
And these are some of the most important things in a home buying, which is the realtor who's willing to step out for you and give you the right person to give you the hard, honest truth. And then you end up having a home inspector who goes deep and shows you the hard, honest truth. Then you could make a well-informed decision whether you want to buy or not. And then you have a strong attorney who turns around and says, hey, listen, my client has a problem with these. Either they're going to move forward or you guys could negotiate and do something well. But we couldn't do it without the home inspector showing them exactly what they're buying.
Exactly.
Great teamwork.
Right.
Teamwork. And 90% of the time I realized one thing, ethics, honesty. Goes a long way.
Thank you, Danny, for being with us today. So what's for lunch, Danny?
If I show you what's for lunch, you'll be shocked.
Really?
Take a look at this. I don't want you to show it to Mr. Can you see? I don't know if you. Yeah.
Ah.
Cream and spaghetti.
Ooh.
Somebody's treating me nice today.
That's very nice.
My son just made it while we were,
Well, enjoy your lunch. What's for lunch?
I don't know.
I don't know, Mr. Juice. Take her out somewhere. Hey, why don't you take her to what's that Spanish tavern place in Newark by the Penn Station?
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is there a card on file?
Hey, all you do is tell them that Mrs. Juice sent you.
Okay. All right, Danny. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay.
All right. Bon appetit. Enjoy.
Thank you. Stay safe and try to wear your mask.
Absolutely.
Because you're getting old, you got to protect yourself.
That's right.
Oh, yes.